Since I'm not too much of a fan of fantasy beef, I like to sort of calm things down after I defeated Ed this week. I don't want there to be any tension between Ed and I. So what I've done is I've invited Ed to the recap center, and we're just gonna work things out. Ed, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, man. Okay. So you said that you were going
I
to
think we
beat
should
me
make a wager
this week.
I think we could make
and
a wager on the game.
yeah, I know you said that. You said that, but the thing is that you
I
lost.
I already know what my team is about. Let's make a wager.
But wait, Ed, look, Ed, listen. If you lose already, like, we can't make a wager.
I
Like,
don't
it
have
already
any time
happened.
for this. Like
We can't- you
I'm busy. I'm too busy right now.
Ed, I know you're busy. I know you got a lot of things to do. I know.
Let's get back to the wager. Let's wager.
Okay, and I get that, but if you lost already, there's no sense in doing that. Like, do
you just
you
want me to
understand? Is
lose.
that clear?
You hating on me. You just want me to lose.
Ed, we all want. Each of us want every one of us to lose.
Y'all just
You're
want
not
me
special.
to lose, man. Y'all
we don't hate
mentioning
you,
my
Ed.
name. I already know my
Ed,
team is
Ed,
about. Let's make a
Ed,
wager.
Ed.
Let's make a wager.
I
Make a
know. I know.
wager.
Just give me a hug. Give me a hug.
I just
It's okay. It's okay. I know it. I know. Now just sit over there. I got a recap to do, okay? This is your week 13 recap / round 1 preview. Another fantasy season in the books. This is our 11th season, if I'm not mistaken. I probably should have checked that out, but I'm not going to dig into the papers and check now. But this is our 11th season in the books, and I'm just going to read off to you guys details about the season, certain records. Well, not really any records, but just the numbers, the highs and the lows, and the rankings. So starting off with the division winners, which were me and Jay. Me winning the number 1 division with a record of 10-3, and Jay winning the El Caporal division with a record of 7-6. Jay was also the highest scoring team of the season with 1,310 points. And Hensel was the lowest scoring team. He did not. Joe keeps that record of the flat 900 from 2016. Hensel finishes off with 921 points. That is the lowest of the season. The most Kirk Cameron awards for the season, the highest scoring team of the week, goes to me with 6 weeks. The lowest, which is the recipient of the most Tito awards, is Dro with 4 weeks. Hensel had the season low in week 1 with 23 points, and Jay had the season high in week 8 with 133 points. The list of the points is as follows, and we had a tie, which is something I don't ever remember happening. We have Hensel at number 10 with 921, Eric at 8 with 959, and then we had Paul and Dro tied up with 1,031 apiece, which I guess puts them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that puts them at 6th. Tied up at 6th place. I'm sorry. So that would that would obviously make Hensel and Eric 9 and 7th. 8th and whatever the fuck. You guys know what I mean. All right, so they're tied up at 6th with 1,031 points. Andy comes in right after that with 1,043. Then we have Joe with 1,074. Ed comes in with 1,105 points at 4th. We have Orlando 3rd with 1,148. Peggy finishes 2nd with 1,282, and Jay, as I said, with 1,310. Another thing that I like to do at the end of the season, and this really illustrates who the better team was, and what I find very funny about this too is I'm about to read off to you guys the all-star team, basically. These are the number 1 ranked players in their respective positions, 1 quarterback, 1 wide receiver, 1 running back, tight end, the defense, and a kicker. Orlando has the number 1 quarterback in Russell Wilson this season with 268 points. Peggy has the best running back of the year with Todd Gurley at 199 points, and also the best wide receiver of the season with Antonio Brown at 181 points. Travis Kelce and Gronk are tied. Travis Kelce, of course, owned by Andy, and Gronk owned by Joe with 122 points each. The best defense of the season, and they've been fucking phenomenal, goes to Eric with the Jaguars with 166 points. And once again, we have Peggy with the best kicker, Greg Zerloin, Legatron, with 165 points. What I find funny about this is that Jay is the number one scoring team, but he doesn't have any number one players, which I guess you could look at it and say that that means that he just had balanced scoring. But I'm more than sure that if Ezekiel Elliott was in the game, was playing all these weeks, you know, he could have come pretty close to Todd Gurley. But sorry about that, Jay. One record that I didn't give. Okay, I'm gonna do this in real time here. So the defensive fantasy team of the year, let's call this the Ed Award, goes to me, only allowing my opponents to score 990 points. I stayed under 1,000. Everybody went over. So it looks like my defense is up to snuff this year, man. I'm pretty impressed with myself. So this is going to be a pretty short recap because I don't want to get too deep into the details of who's going to win, because that always seems like seems like a fool's errand. So what do you say we read off these final these week 13 results? Of course, you had Peggy defeating Ed 112-92. Well, what else can I say to you, Ed? I mean, look, I had balanced scoring. The only person who didn't show up for me was Demaryius Thomas with 2 points, but everybody scored in the teens. You know, what Legatron has done for me this season is just, I mean, over the past 5 weeks. I mean, the guy in week 9, he's got 17 points. Week 10, 17. 1 point week 11, week 12, 17, and week 13, 17. So, I mean, the guy is pretty much operating like a low key, like a RB2 or fuck. I mean, the way this season is going, an RB1. Because another detail that I forgot to mention to you guys is that scoring is actually down from last season. We amassed 10,904 points this season, whereas in 2016, we all collectively came up with 11,758. So scoring is down from last season. We can only attribute that to the fact that you guys fucking suck and you draft horribly. And if you were all in front of me right now, I would punch each and every one of you right in the face. Andy, I think I would give him an extra elbow to just show Andy that I really want him to go fuck himself, and I don't care for him or what he does. So scoring is down, and this is all your fault. And Ed, look, I mean, Joe Mixon got injured, still wouldn't have made a difference. He would have really had to have earned this victory. If I'm not mistaken, mathematically, I would have still won, even if Antonio Brown didn't play, because Martavius Bryant scored 4 points. That still would have been enough to beat you. So you've lost again, Ed. But the good news for you is maybe we'll meet again. I'll get to that in a second. We also had Jay falling short to Paul, 92-108. Joe losing to Orlando, 71-107. Hensel falling short to Andy, which is kind of a funny line, right? Falling short against Andy, 82-86. And finally, Eric defeats Pedro, 74-56. I'm a little bit all over the place, but I also forgot to mention that the draft order is basically I'm sorry, give me 1 second. The draft order is it's basically going to be as follows. We're going to have Hensel at the number 1 pick. We're Dro with the number 2 pick. Paul with the 3rd pick, and Eric with the 4th. So that's going to be the draft order. These teams are really going to need to pick themselves up, maybe an Antonio Brown to improve their chances this season. All right, next season rather. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to deceive you like that. You won't be playing anymore for the remainder of the season. So moving on to round 1. The playoffs are here. We are going to have a brand new champion because Paul is worthless and he is not a representative of the title. We are all playing for that illustrious championship belt. We have never played for a belt. And to my knowledge, there are a few of you in the fantasy season, Commish has communicated to me, that have not paid your dues for the belt. So if you're listening, please, you can PayPal the money to Orlando. But, the belt is, don't think of the belt because I know the thinking of some of you guys is, well, I didn't really have a chance. I don't give a fuck. Fuck the belt. You're going to stay in the fantasy season. We're going to play with the same belt. Just pay the fucking 25. Blah, 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 blah. Come on. If you guys can't come up with the money, ask Ed for the money. I mean, he's clearly, Ed is, he's all over the place. He's doing things. So, we're playing for that, so that makes this a little bit different. Now there is a tangible object that you can feel, you can touch by the end of the season. So I'm very excited. Unfortunately, I won't be playing this week because I have a first round bye along with Jay. And let's give you guys more of an idea of what's happening here, as far as championships in history. Jay and I obviously have 2 championships apiece. You have Andy with, hold on, 0. Yeah, Andy with 0 championships. You have Joe with, hold on. No, Joe's got 0 too. You have Ed with 1 championship. We're so happy for you. And Orlando with 1 championship as well. I mean, Orlando's championship, that's like Bush administration. I don't remember. I don't know. I mean, that might be wrong, but it makes me feel better to shit on Orlando like that. But it's been a while. Okay, so those are the championships. So obviously we have more of a chance to have a repeat offender this season. So let's take a look at the first round matchups. We have Joe going up against Ed, and immediately the biggest deal in this matchup is going to be how does Joe recover from the fact that Gronk was suspended because of that stupid foul that he had committed just last week. Joe hasn't done anything. He's I think he already had Jared Cook sitting on his bench. Is he going to play Jared Cook? Jared Cook the last 3 weeks has scored 3 points, 0 points, and 0 points, and he's played. He's just had 1 catch each of the last 2 weeks with 2 yards and 9 yards. So he's not getting a lot of looks, and he is going up against KC, who is the 7th ranked team against tight ends. Joe hasn't done, and I'm just gonna blow up spots at this point. If you haven't made moves, you're gonna get your spot blown up. I mean, Joe hasn't even picked up the backup. I think Martellus Bryant is on IR, so there's another unknown guy who's going to be the tight end this week. Not to say that you should play him, but I don't know. Maybe you should. I mean, because Cook doesn't seem like he's hot shit. So how is Joe gonna recover from that? He's also playing Darko, whatever the fuck this guy's name is, for the Giants up against the Dallas Cowboys. Who knows what's going to happen with that matchup? He's got Frank Gore going up against the Buffalo defense. Buffalo is the worst ranked defense against the run. And on Ed's side, he's got a bit of an interesting scenario here because he has Matt Ryan on his bench, and Matt Ryan tomorrow is playing against the New Orleans Saints. And anytime you see these dome NFC South games, they always seem to be high-scoring games. And I get the fact that Matt Ryan hasn't scored over 20 points the entire year, which is just fucking bananas when you consider the year that he had last season. But I gotta say, man, Ed's got Cam Newton going up against Minnesota. This puts Ed in a very tough position. You know, I'm going to try to be empathetic with Ed right now and not shit on him, even though he makes himself an easy target. But that's a tough one because you have Matt Ryan playing Thursday, and then if Matt Ryan fucking hangs a 32 over your head, do you honestly think that Cam Newton's going to get a 32 against the Minnesota defense? You know, with the running game that they have, they're going to control the clock. Like, is that really going to happen? I don't know. That puts him at a tough position because those divisional games, these teams go hard at each other. But let's see what happens there. He's going to play Joe Mixon, who seems to be on in questionable, unless he brings in DeMarco Murray into the mix, who is going up against the Arizona Cardinals, who are the 8th-ranked team against the run. But DeMarco hasn't done much the last 3 weeks. Ed is going to have over a 20-point lead by the end of Sunday. The final matchup of the week is Joe's Tom Brady game. It's the Patriots game against the Miami Dolphins on Monday. And Ed has nobody on Monday. So that's the only way that Ed can feel good about this is if he's got an above 20 points. I believe that Ed is going to pull this one off. Gronk makes up so much of Joe's production, and Gronk's production is directly correlated to Tom Brady. So could you expect maybe a 16, a 17 from Tom Brady? Who knows? It's Tom Brady. But I think the advantage right now goes to Ed, who is currently projected at 81 points, while Joe is projected at 74. But I think that Ed will advance to the second round so he can have yet another fucking ass whipping by Peggy in the semis. With the other matchup, you have Orlando, the 3rd seed, against Andy, the 6th seed. Now, Andy always seems to thrive in round 1. He almost never gets ousted early. And Orlando made a very good pickup with Rex Burkhead, who, you know, the last 2 weeks, he's gotten a good amount of carries. I mean, if you think about, you know, somebody who's a New England running back, he's got 13 carries, 12 carries, 17 points and 21 points the last 2 weeks. So he's getting really good production. He's also playing Dez Bryant, which at this point is just a fucking toss-up against the Giants. It's a divisional game. The Giants are the 22 ranked team against the defense. Who knows if the Giants rally now that they lost their coach and now they're playing for pride because, you know, they don't want to play for their coach. But that's a bit of a risk because, you know, he can give you a fucking goose egg or a 2 or a 3. Devin Funchess going up against Minnesota in that matchup that I mentioned to you with the Panthers. And over on Andy's side, he's got a strong matchup here, man. He's got fucking Alvin Kamara, who's a fucking beast. He's the 2nd-ranked running back. Alvin Kamara is like his stat sheet. Just like when you click it, it just looks so beautiful. Because like since week 7, it's like nothing but double digits. It's 19s, it's 30s, it's 20-somethings, and touchdowns in most of those weeks. So Andy having Kamara, having Jordan Howard up against the Cincinnati defense, who's a 21 ranked. I'm gonna go a lot by rankings. It's all I can really fucking do. Other than that, it's just a fucking toss up. I'm just merely giving you guys predictions just to humor you, I guess, so you can shit on me if I'm right or wrong. And another tough assignment for Orlando would also be the fact that going up against that very same 1st-ranked defense for Eric, he's got the Jags defense going up against Russell Wilson. Now, the Jags are number 1 against passers. Since week 9, quarterbacks have scored 5, 15, 5, 16, and 9. Granted, those last few weeks, I guess it was Andy Dalton, Phillip Rivers, whoever the fuck the quarterback is for Cleveland, Carson Palmer, I guess, is Arizona, and who gives a shit who the quarterback is for Indiana. So not great quarterback, so that, they're able to build up their clout because of that. Now they're facing Russell Wilson. That could lean into Orlando's favor, but let's see how good that Jacksonville defense is. Orlando also has, the great Amari Cooper on his bench, who's pretty much worthless at this point. So I guess he won't be using him. I think Andy's got the advantage here. He's got Carson Wentz. So at the quarterback position, Andy has the advantage. Orlando may have a slight edge by having Melvin Gordon up against the Washington Redskins, who are the 26th ranked team. Melvin Gordon hasn't done much recently, so maybe he's due for something, I guess. But I still think the advantage goes to Andy. I think it's going to be a very close matchup, but I think Andy will advance and pull off the upset technically because he is the 6th ranked team and Orlando is the 3rd. And on the other side, technically, you have an upset too because you have Ed is 4th ranked and Joe is the 5th. So those are my predictions for round 1. This was a bit of a long one. That's what she said. And that's it. I mean, what more do you want from me? I'm not playing this week. I'm probably going to bench all my players, and I hope that in solidarity, Jay would do the same. So that is my proposal. Jay, please bench your players and then do it for the next round. So that was your Week 13 recap / round 1 preview. As always, may your quarterbacks get hurt before they leave the locker room. May your running backs pull their hamstrings. And may your wide receivers get arrested for marijuana possession. Marijuana possession. Go fuck yourselves. And fuck you, Ed.